So I thought I'd make a little video showing you how to refill a Copic marker. I use Copic markers every day and I've never replaced a marker. I always refill them from Copic ink. So I buy bottles of ink refill and I replace the markers and I replace the nibs, and I've never actually replaced a marker because they're quite expensive. So if you just buy the inks and learn to replace them yourself, it's much cheaper than replacing markers all the time. So if you're going to refill them with ink, what you need to do that is you need a Copic marker, pair of Copic marker tweezers, which you can buy from your Copic marker ink seller. I'm in the UK, so I buy all my supplies from the Copic shop online. So if you just Google the Copic shop, you'll find it. I can't remember the web address, but just Google the Copic shop and it'll be top of your search. So wherever else you are, it'll be wherever you get your ink supplies from. They usually sell tweezers, they sell nibs, and whatever other accessories you want. So I buy nibs in packs and just replace those as well. I'll show you how to do that. It's the same process as refilling with ink. You also need alcohol gel to clean up spills. So this is like the little bottles of hand gel. That's what you use to clean up spills. Water won't clean it up, so you need alcohol gel. Hopefully, when you've done lots of them, you don't usually spill it. You get so practiced that if I'm doing about 20 or 30 at a time, then by the end I'm spilling it. But if you're doing one at a time, you don't usually spill it. And paper towels. And that's all you need. So this is a new bottle. So I haven't used it before, so I need to undo it. And one bottle will last forever. I use them every day, and the ones I use really frequently, there are about 3 colours that I use on every portrait I do, and I think there are only those 3 colours that I've ever used more than one bottle of ink on, and I've been doing portraits now for like 18 months. So there are only 2 or 3 colours that I've used more than one bottle of ink. So all the other colours, I mean, I don't have every colour in the range. I've got probably about 1/3 of the range, and most of them I've only got. I haven't refilled all of them, even once. But the ones that I do refill, I've never used more than one bottle of ink. So they last a really long time. And I'm doing sort of A4 portraits now, so I'm not doing very small portraits. So to refill them, you take the cap off both ends, and I always put something underneath in case I get a spill out, because sometimes I overfill them and the ink drips out. So you always refill from the chisel tip end. So it doesn't, whichever one you're using, whether you're using, this is a chow, but if you're refilling a sketch or an original marker, they all have a chisel tip end. So you always refill from the chisel tip end. And you use your Copic tweezers to pull out your chisel tip. And then you get your bottle of ink and you literally put it in there, turn it upright, and you squeeze really gently. And I usually do it for about 40 counts, really gently. In fact, no, for a chow I do about 30. For a sketch I do about 40. I have no idea how many counts it takes to fill it up. I just do about 40 and then I stop. So I just count. So there we are, I'm at 30. And I haven't spilt any. I do have spillages. If you spill, it'll drip down and then it gathers around there and then goes down the side and your hands get really sticky. So if that happens, I put the nib back in. Oh, Oh, I'm going to mess it up. No, I've got it in. And you literally just push it back in. So if you have a spill at that point, what I'll do is just get a little bit of that, usually on my fingers, and then just rub it round until it's clean. So I just rub it all the way round basically until it's clean, and then put the lids back on. Try not to get the alcohol gel on the nibs because you'll mess them up. So just rub it round and don't get the alcohol on it. I don't know what it would do, but I'm guessing it would. I've never done it. I've never actually got any on the nibs, but I'm assuming it would dry them out. I don't really know. I'm always really careful not to do it, but just rub them round. They do get really dirty, these nibs, and also inside the cases you can see, actually that one's already dirty, so I'll show you how I clean them. So they get sticky and dirty. That one's really clean, so I've obviously not used that chisel tip. But when they get dirty, I'll put the lid on that. To clean it, I usually just squeeze them onto there, and then just use a cotton bud, we call them in England, but if you're elsewhere you might call them a Q-tip. Put some in there and just clean it round and get it clean. Obviously the really dark colours, you know, the black will get absolutely filthy in there, and they do need cleaning up, because not only will it get filthy in there, but it gets really dirty around here, so they do need cleaning up every now and then. So you can see it comes off. So do clean them up, because the dirtier they are, the stickier it'll get, and your nib will get worn down really quickly and just not very nice. So I do give them quite a good clean up every so often, because I want them to last as long as I can, because I'm cheap and I don't want to spend more money than I have to on new markers. So, and then because that's then got alcohol on it, I just leave it for a minute or two to let the alcohol evaporate. And obviously if you're going to replace, so you never remove that marker, that end, you only remove the chisel ends. And also the other thing you should do is clean that off, because the next nib you're pulling out might be a white one or a light coloured one, and you don't want. I have occasionally removed a black one and then put that on, pulled out a really light coloured one, and it's got a mark on it. So it's good practice to just make sure that's clean. If you're going to replace that nib, you just pull it out with the tweezers and then push a new one in. And there are all kinds of other nibs they sell, not just the ones that come in these. So this is a different nib. You don't buy a marker with this nib. This is a nib that you can get. So these are new nibs that you can replace them with, and these are little nibs for the sketch. So the sketch has a different nib. The sketch has a really thin nib, and you can replace it with this kind of tiny chisel nib. So you can customise your markers and put different nibs on them than the ones that they come with. So that's why it's also quite good to have some tweezers and know how to do this, because you can put different nibs on them as well, which I have done, because I really like these nibs, which is why I've only got one left. These are quite firm. They're firmer than the brush nibs, and I quite like those, so I need to get some more of them. So anyway, that's how you refill them. There is another way of doing it, where you literally just, apparently these have, I've never been able to find it, sorry, the chisel ends have a tiny little hole, so if you really don't want to pull them out, and if you find it's really messy, that you spill a lot when you're doing it, you can literally just, you're supposed to be able to, but I've never really figured out how to do it. You're supposed to be able to just lay them down next to each other, and that will just suck up the ink. If you just lay them next to each other, it will, but it takes ages. You just leave them and it will just suck up the ink like that. But I don't have the patience for that, so I just fill them, and the more you fill them, the better you'll get at it, and you won't spill. So the only time I spill is if I've done a lot, and eventually I have arthritis in my hands and in my thumbs, and eventually I do spill if I've done a lot. But you'll get better at it, so I would recommend doing it, because eventually you just get much faster and better at it, and you don't really spill. I don't spill very often. Though yesterday when I did lots, these are my marks from when I spilt, and I did lots and I did spill eventually. But if you haven't got arthritic thumbs, you'll get very good at it very quickly and you won't spill. So do it. But yeah, so I would say if you use Copics, don't keep buying new ones. Get an ink supply. You can buy ink on Amazon. It comes from Japan and it takes a while, but you can buy it from Amazon. But probably whatever country you're in, there will be a shop online that sells it much, much cheaper than Amazon. And in the UK, it's the Copic shop. Just Google the Copic shop. But wherever else you are, there's probably a supplier that will sell it cheaper than Amazon and more reliably. Yeah. So that's how you refill a Copic marker.